The prologue starts in the distant past with this guy Savant, and he's hunting this big ass dragon. He works his way through the keep, fighting harpies and lion goats with snake butts, but then right before they get to the dragon, black screen. Countless lifetimes later, a mysterious portal opens, spitting out a bunch of harpies, and oh shit, that's a big ass dragon. Falling to earth like a meteor, it wakes up, has a quick snack, and heads out to ruin everyone's day. The main character is created in your image, or at least the image of you if you had a massive egghead and cool eye scar, and the game starts out in a peaceful fishing town. People are smiling, the Duke is recruiting soldiers to combat the dragon, but overall, life seems pretty good. At least until the dragon shows up and starts setting everyone on fire. Toasty! Your person ain't no bitch, so they find a random sword on the ground and rush it like they have a chance. Spoiler, they don't. Dragon yeets them across the beach and they manage to give the dragon equivalent of a splinter, but the dragon doesn't appreciate that, so it heads their way to fuck them up. Dragon hears, "Finish him!" and rips dude's heart out like nothing, then eats it like a jelly bean.
Fatality.
Well, he's dead. Game over. But not really, because some fucking how they're still alive and the wound where the dragon literally ripped his heart out is magically scarred over. Now I'm convinced dude is really Jesus because he wakes up 3 days later. Maybe, probably not. We're just gonna say it for the sake of the joke. However, he still doesn't have a heart, so now he's actually zombie Jesus? Through his missing heart, the dragon calls dude out like, "If you want your heart back, bitch, come get it. Newly arisen." And arisen is basically someone who got their heart eaten by a dragon and has come back to life. Out in town, a creepy ass portal to another dimension opens up and some random dude just falls out. Everyone's all cool like, "Oh, that's just a pawn. Go to this camp to learn more." Arisen goes to the camp, talks to a rock, and then the rock tells him that he has to prove that he is the true Arisen by killing this big ass Cyclops with a head tattoo and his goblin homies. The Arisen throws a couple goblins off the cliff, beats the Cyclops in the back of the head, and eventually it falls. During this fight, did no one notice the creepy ass Darth Sidious looking person standing right there? No? Rock says the Arisen is worthy and gets to select his own companion while also having access to the Pawn Legion. They're basically followers with no will and are dedicated to assisting the Arisen. Again, no one notices the creepy ass hooded person standing right there. After some rest, this big ass snake starts attacking the Arisen for no reason, and then another big ass snake rolls up. Hold up, that's a Hydra. Because he doesn't appreciate getting jumped first thing in the morning, he cuts off one of its heads. That one has a weird insignia too? Leader of the enlistment corps, Mercedes, is all impressed instead of just carrying the big ass snake head to the Duke. So like any good RPG, you partake in an annoying escort mission until you reach the capital, Grand Soren. At the capital, the Arisen is approached by this guy who suggests checking out the Pawn Guild. The Arisen heads there and speaks with someone named Barnaby. Barnaby explains the guild is the gate to the Everfall, an ancient place underneath Grand Soren that the pawns protect. However, since the dragon's appearance, there's a strange aura that needs to be investigated. The Arisen descends the staircase, gets tired of fighting the undead, skips the rest of it by letting the ogre take the fall damage, and questions why Benny here is being sus with the dead ogre. Eventually, the Arisen gets to the bottom, notices the strange light underneath the floor, gets ambushed by razor-toothed worm tentacle things, and has to dip before getting turned into a horror hentai. Barnaby's head ass is all like, "Oh, in truth, we didn't know shit about the Everfall, but the light thing is new, I think. We'll continue to monitor the situation." Really? No one cares about the tentacle monster that just tried to kill everyone? The light is our focus here? Okay. The Arisen is then approached by a guard who says the Duke was impressed by the snakehead. No good deed goes unpunished though, because he has more work for us. The Arisen quells a goblin horde, investigates some ruins, and uses a cryptic stone to meet a past Arisen that calls himself Dragonforge. Dragonforge because the dude's looking extra crispy. Toasty! He's also asked to investigate a cult called Salvation. They worship the dragon, and like any good cult, they have their meetings in catacombs full of skeletons and zombies. After making a bunch of undead more dead, the Arisen creeps in on the meeting. Oh shit, that's the dude at the camp. They summoned the Cyclops and the Hydra? And who's the dude in the armor? One-eyed Darth Sidious notices our guy, force pushes the balcony and breaks it, and then goes hard with the dark magic by summoning a bunch of zombies to help him get away. After running all the Duke's errands, the Arisen is granted an audience. Tink Wario brings the Arisen to Burger King, who's supposed to commend our guy. Instead, he and all his friends just make fun of the Arisen's stupid hat. Assholes. The Arisen tries to explain he dresses for stats, but nobody cares. Wait, brooding night guy looks familiar. After everyone's done talking shit, the Arisen gets knighted, but all the king says is that the roads are open for him as he helps the Duke fight the dragon. So basically, we killed a Hydra for a toll pass. As the Arisen leaves the castle, he runs into the Duchess, and her Princess Peach looking ass starts talking shit about the hat too. Bitch! We also meet Aldous, the Duke's Chamberlain, who will be giving us our errands now. The Arisen does more Arisen shit. kills a big-ass griffin, gets a clearly guilty man acquitted because he sells rare items, and changes his hat because everyone's making fun of him. For reasons we'll get to later, side quests actually matter in this game, so the Arisen also decides to save the cute goth girl who's actually a pawn. But not anymore. You talk to the goth girl's Arisen's ghost and learn pawns are but shadows of life in an unending cycle. Over time, some assume their Arisen's form, heart, and ultimately become human themselves. The Duchess's maid also asked you to meet the Duchess in a secret because that's always a good idea. This bitch is straight crazy because before this you had maybe a 20-second interaction, but Psycho Peach here is already in love. Soon after Wario and Burger King roll up and dude walks in under some kind of trance because he's all like,
"Is Wayne Brady gonna have to choke a bitch?"
and starts choking her for no reason, yelling for Lenore's forgiveness. By the way, the girl he's choking isn't Lenore. Huh? She's psycho, but we can't let her die, so the Arisen stops the attempted murder. Dude breaks out of his trance, and this fucking bitch sells us out. God damn it. The Arisen gets thrown in the dungeon, Duke thinks homegirl is sus, and after getting his ass beat, she shows up with keys explaining she had to do it or she would be killed. Then the Arisen just walks out. Even talked to a couple guards in Aldous as he strolled off. Water under the bridge, I guess. Aldous gives out more errands, including recovering the Duke's ring stolen by some psychotic mage that doesn't respond well to meteors or fall damage, and Mercedes also needs help investigating dark happenings at a fort led by Lord Julian. He's the brooding night guy that looks familiar because he's also the masked guy at the Salvation meeting. Somehow the conversation turns into him talking shit about her hood. Mercedes gets pissed and then gets ready to kill Julian to rep her block, and then tells the Arisen to stay out of it. But instead, she actually starts getting her ass beat until the Arisen saves her life and kills Julian. Mercedes decides to head back home and ask her kingdom to provide more aid in order to combat the dragon. Back in Grand Soren, this giant dragon rooster thing is breaking shit. It is also able to turn things into stone, which is total bullshit, because in this game, petrification is one of the few status ailments that needs a very specific potion to heal. You don't have it, your ass is a paperweight. After defeating the cockatrice, the Arisen speaks with the Duke who's sending him after Salvation once more. But first we need to save Psycho Peach again. The Arisen sneaks into the Duke's vacation home, tosses this crazy chick salad, and then literally tosses her across the sewers because she's tired from all the sex, or just can't do basic platforming, more likely the second one. After saving her yet again, she goes home. The Duke is crazy as fuck, and she can't stick with you because I have no idea why. The Arisen gets back on the main quest, beats up more monsters and Harry Potter cosplays, and runs into Darth Sidious once again, who's sacrificing the homies just to make your life more difficult. After taking out death mages, Sidious is spewing more cult bullshit until the dragon shows up and says what we're all thinking: "Shut the fuck up!" And boom! Curb stomps dude into a fucking puddle. Dragon's name is Grigory, and straight up calls the Arisen out again like, "It smells like straight bitch in here. You want the destruction to stop, motherfucker? Come catch these claws." But really though, he drops a fire line when he says,
"Heed the zealot's lesson well. When the weak court death, they find it."
Before leaving, Grigory says he's keeping the heart until the Arisen takes it back and throws heavy shade on the Dragonforge by alluding to the fact that Grigory still has his heart. The Dragonforge tells the Arisen where to go, but before this video goes any further, let me remind you, less than a month ago, this dragon kicked the Arisen's ass up and down that beach and ripped his heart out without batting an eye. Now, all of a sudden, we're strong enough to fight him? How? Cue the training montage. The Arisen works his way through the keep and finds Grigory. As I mentioned before, side quests matter because depending on how you build affinity with certain characters, the dragon will steal whoever's closest to you for an upcoming choice. Unfortunately, we got the Duchess. Unfortunate because I was actually going for the cute goth chick. She's less annoying and not nearly as clingy. I even maxed her affinity by giving her all my mushrooms. Bitches love mushrooms. Grigory offers the Arisen a choice: risk his life to fight and end the destruction, or sacrifice the Duchess, for which Grigory will leave in peace and the Arisen will gain wealth and power as the new Duke. Hold up, you're telling me the current Duke is an Arisen who took Grigory's deal? Is that why he's going crazy? He sacrifices love, Lenore, for wealth and power? As tempting as the deal sounds, Grigory's been talking way too much shit this entire game. Cash these hands. Or we could just run away from, run after, and then ride the dragon instead. We won't talk about the fatal fall damage everyone survived. Now catch these hands. Grigory defeated, a massive hole swallows Grand Soren's living quarter, and he returns the stolen hearts, re-aging the other Arisen. The dragon-forged old ass turns into dust, and the Duke turns into a decrepit old man. Finally, Grigory fades to dust as well. The Duchess is saved, and the group heads home, after she thanks him for saving her life for the 3rd time. I mean, at least she puts out. Crazy ones usually do. Grigory's gone, but everything's still messed up. The Arisen heads back to Grand Soren, where the Duke wants to meet. He knows the Arisen met the dragon and thinks he took the deal. Desperate to remain Duke, he attacks our guy, and then sicks all the guards on him, claiming the Arisen a traitor. The Arisen attempts to flee until he falls down that big ass hole. Remember the Everfall? This is it. Because you fall forever, at least until you grab one of those ruins ledges. A pawn then approaches the Arisen and says to collect a bunch of stones to get through the depths. That's not foreboding at all, so the Arisen beats the hell out of a bunch of monsters, including revenge on those damn tentacles, and collects the stones. The stones are used to open a rift that sends the Arisen to the Seneschal's chamber. The Seneschal says simply, "Defeat me and become the keeper of this world." So basically the Seneschal's God. I told you the Arisen was Jesus. Well, if Jesus ever fights God for the throne. After fighting, the Seneschal offers a choice: continue to fight or live a false peace. If the Arisen takes the deal and goes back home, they live peacefully while a disappointed Seneschal waits for the next Arisen to continue the cycle. If the Arisen chooses to fight, they approach the Seneschal and, oh shit, Savan is God? If the Arisen loses, their body falls back down to the world as they become the next dragon, continuing the cycle. If the Arisen chooses to fight and wins, he becomes the next Seneschal. As Savan explains, he was testing the Arisen's will. The dragon, the choices, fighting God, it's the fate of all Arisen, the never-ending cycle. Until a new soul fit to be the next Seneschal arrives, the Arisen is set to guide the world for eternity. Savan pulls the God's Baneblade out of his chest, says it's the only thing that can kill a Seneschal, and asks to be slain so he can finally rest. Honoring this final request, the God's Bane is plunged into Savan's chest, freeing him from the endless cycle. GG's, y'all, you did it. You're God now. But now all you can do is walk around your chamber, old home, and Grand Soren, bored and invisible. Being a god is the worst and makes you want to kill yourself. Wait a minute, we still have the God's Bane. Boredom causes New God to commit seppuku as he and his pawn fall back to the world. Pawn wakes up in the Arisen's body, and the Arisen's love interest, in our case the Duchess, comes to the pawn's aid as the sun sets over the land. Wait, we know from Cute Goth Girl pawns can take their Arisen's form, but is the cycle over? Did God really die? Or just his physical form? Is the Arisen still up there? Did Savan pull the sword out of his chest because he tried to end the cycle himself, or is that just where people carry everything in RPGs? Legend has it, Dragon's Dogma nerds are still arguing the ending to this day. While the Arisen is out running around, hitting things in the back of the head and looking for the dragon that ate his heart, somebody tells you about this lady who stands on the docks at night. The Arisen obviously has nothing better to do, so he decided to check it out. The shadow of this lady named Aura is waiting. Only Arisen can see her, and she's asking for help. With no additional information, he's like, "No, we'll do it live! Fuck it!" and gets on her boat. Getting her heart back and stopping the dragon's terror spree can obviously wait. Aura takes him to the Isla de Muerte, but because Disney will sue Capcom into the ground, they call it Bitterblack Isle. The island has a creepy Dracula castle, and Aura asks the Arisen to explore its depths.
Don't gotta be Stonewall Jackson, no, you don't want to fight in a basement.
Conveniently, Aura can't give us any additional information because she can't remember her past or motivation for being there. All she knows is she's bound to the island and calls to the Arisen because he can help the one that dwells below. Because fuck it, the Arisen pulls up on this creepy ass castle, rushes in like Dragons! And gets bodied because your impatient ass is 200 leveled. Then he grabs a bow, cheeses the hell out of everything he can, and continues working his way through upside down Tartarus, all while creepy voices talk to him in an attempt to provide lore that you can't pay attention to right now because you're still under leveled and desperately trying not to die. On his way down, the Arisen pops One-Eyed Willie, defiles the Pope's ghost and his not-so-toothless dragon, blasts this poor soul off the cliff, and collects a bunch of storytelling rocks. Eventually, the Arisen gets to the Inner Sanctum and has to fight the one that dwells below, Devil Kazuya. Again, because trademarks, they call him Damon. As you fight him, Aura starts talking in your ear like you can comprehend anything she's saying, again, very underleveled, but she does offer background as her memory is restored. Between the Senua style voices in your head and the rocks you've been collecting, you learn a woman named Greta was an Arisen hundreds of lifetimes ago, and Aura was her main pawn. During their adventure, they met a boy named Ash and mentored him. Greta eventually lost to the then Seneschal, became a dragon, and made Ash the next Arisen, hoping he would free her from her fate. Aura became Ash's pawn, eventually they became lovers, and when they found Dragon Greta, Ash's choice was either to kill his mentor or sacrifice his love Aura. Ash said fuck that and refused to choose and ended up damning them all. He was transformed into Devil Kazuya, aka Damon, a creature mad with despair because he lost everything and hatred for the never-ending Arisen cycle that caused this whole mess to begin with. Over the centuries, his agony grew, which attracted more monsters that slayed more Arisen, making Bitterblack Isle the death trap that it is today. Even after her sacrifice, Aura's spirit wanted to save Ash from Damon, so it possessed the aura that brought us here, hoping that we would defeat Damon and free her lover from the curse. A million arrows and potions later, the Arisen finally defeats Damon, freeing Ash's spirit. Ash and Aura's spirits converse. Ash is like, yeah, that's my bad. Aura proves she's the keeper because she's all like, you good, I just wanted us to be together. And the two phase off to go do ghost things like Scooby-Doo reruns and Paranormal Activity DLC. GG's y'all, we killed Damon and saved Ash. Can we get our heart now? No! The Isle is still shrouded and more monsters are here, so we get to do the entire thing all over again. Even though Ash is saved, Damon's hate and agony still runs rampant for some reason. So much so that when we kill him again, oh shit. Second boss phase. But instead of a full badass transformation, dude just grows a demon chicken out of his chest. Devil Kazuya straight up turned into Devil Quato. Shout out to the old heads that remember Total Recall, the good one. After killing Damon again, it dissolves into a husk and gets consumed by the rift. Now it's over. But not really. Depending on your tolerance or grinding, you get to do it again, and again, and again. Or you can finally decide to go get your heart back like you're supposed to. We start at a coronation event in Vermon's castle, and Captain Brant, aka Idris Elba's medieval cousin, introduces you as the sovereign. Or at least you think it's you. Spoiler, it's you. You walk up to your throne, grab your wine because it's a party, and just as it's about to get lit, this Buzz Killington paranormal voice thing freezes time, and says in confusing old English, Arisen. If you want to see the true world, demonstrate your will and alter fate. Then you pass out because... reasons? Probably had Jesus juice in that cup. You're now in some random jail, make your character in the image of everyone's favorite unknown YouTuber, and Tom Segura here is ordering pawns to follow him with his rock candy staff. The Arisen ended up in a pawn internment camp, and shortly after going to work, oh shit! A Medusa? Overseer Tom sends some pawns to fight, they get tossed, he runs like a bitch, but the Arisen and his Neanderthal eyebrows don't play that shit. The homie grabs a weapon, starts swinging, immediately realizes how poorly optimized this game is on PC, and starts swinging again in a lower resolution. Eventually, Medusa slithers away, and during this commotion, the ghost of Obi-Wan randomly appears and tells the Arisen to dip before realizing he lost his memory. Worry not. You need only believe in the Force. I mean, your own destiny, Arisen. Obi-Wan uses his medieval Force powers to break the spell Rook 2.0 is under, and they're out. Overseer Tom chases after them, and the Arisen takes an Assassin's Creed leap of faith, lands on a fucking griffin, and just flies away. Griffin flies halfway across the map until boom! Thing gets fucking skewered and falls out of the sky. Because plot armor, of course the Arisen's okay, but oh shit, the demon water spaghetti thing got Rook. This is the brine, or the excuse Capcom baked into the lore so they wouldn't have to add swimming mechanics. More on this later. Just then, Vermon's soldiers show up, act like Rook didn't just get swallowed by the liquid shadow realm, and escort our guys to their camp. When they get there, the pawns greet the Arisen, show him the magical rock of pawn respawn, and have him summon his main pawn, mage and healer extraordinaire, Mahatma Pandey. Only the Arisen can summon pawns, but the soldiers thought the Arisen was at the capital. Soldier Justin, with two N's because Capcom was too busy creating microtransactions to notice typos, tells the Arisen to head for Melv. It recently got torched by a dragon, which might help with the memory loss he's been dealing with. The Arisen recruits a couple more pack mules, pawns, cosplays a Fable bandit, and finally gets to Melv, which is now a giant pile of rubble. As he explores, he starts having a heartless stroke while voices in head start talking shit. Dude collapses and has a flashback to Melv getting completely fucked by this big ass dragon. Dragon goes after Dollar Store Katniss, dude's like fuck that, dragon says shoot fly don't bother me, and then proceeds to fucking roast our guy. Toasty! Homie tries to get up like,
just a flesh wound.
Until the dragon rips dude's heart clean out of his chest, talks shit like he's Jabba the Hutt. And has a quick snack. Then he flies away like, tag, you're it, come get me bitch. The Arisen then wakes up present day with discount Katniss at his side. Her name's Ulrika, shows her gratitude for when he saved her, but the reunion is interrupted when another Vermont soldier insists he take the homie to the capital. They're trying to sort out who's the true Arisen. They get to Vermont's capital, where the Arisen meets Captain Brant. He explains our guy is the true sovereign of Vermont and the true Arisen. but we already knew this. Brant says some time ago our guy confronted the dragon in Melv, became arisen, and was to become the sovereign, ending the consul's rule. However, the Queen Regent, Disa, this chick who looks like Padme's pissed off grandma, wasn't happy about this because her resting bitch face ran into the palace as if she was the real queen. She's hoping to pass everything off to her son and continue her family's reign. Because of that, this bitch abducted the Arisen while he was still recovering, stole his memory with a curse, and sold him to Batal's slavers, which is how he ended up at the work camp. On top of that, her colluding ass replaced him with a puppet sovereign that she controls. In order to reinstate the true Arisen, they need to make their move at the fake Arisen's coronation. In order to get to that, Brant says our guy has to contribute to Vermont's prosperity and get invited by doing things like beating up monsters, breaking the magistrate out of jail,
don't be suspicious, don't be suspicious,
and finding evidence of Disa's collusion. The Arisen also runs into Disa's son Sven, who agrees to help him out because, well, his mom's an asshole. Kid legit looks like he's straight out of a nursery rhyme, probably jumps over candlesticks. With the fresh Thelonious fit, the Arisen finishes his errands, but Brant pulls an uncle, hits him with the "one more thing!" And now the Arisen has to attend a masquerade because we're ripping off the Witcher. He's tailing the false sovereign to figure out who he is, and follows him to the local brothel. The proprietor of said establishment, let's call her head hoe. Wait, no, that'll get me canceled. Okay, brothel baddie? Where brothel baddie Wilhelmina shows the Arisen a peephole offering some very interesting information. Disa confirms the false sovereign is nothing more than a placeholder until she can put her son in power. She's also seen talking with someone named Theseus, whoever that is.
One more thing!
As the Arisen now has to go to some bumfuck nowhere village to investigate the origins of the false sovereign. Realizes Dragon's Dogma stole Elder Scrolls Thieves Guild, and learns fake sovereign was actually one of them. He was exiled after taking the Arisen job because thieves are supposed to stay in the shadows. Becoming the ruler of Vermont isn't very discreet.
One more thing!
Sven saw a suspicious package delivered to Disa's minister Allard. The Arisen sneaks in, finds a Batali letter, jumps out of the window, and runs into Wilhelmina again. Our guy gets one for free as she helps him get away. What is her game? Brant says the letter is from the neighboring country of Batal. Sus, because there is no official business between the two nations. Batal is offering the power of the Godsway and wants Disa to secure Melv. Naturally, Brant sends the Arisen to investigate Melv, but first he has to stop to save Legolas's cute sister and helps Wilhelmina expose Allard's corruption and kill him? What? Well, she's been after Allard ever since he killed her parents, and repays his Sagat-looking ass with their experience, if you know what I'm saying. Eventually, he makes it to Melv, saves Ulrika from another dragon, shout out to the corrupted video recording, and watches as Barry Banks here accuses Ulrika of treason and seizes the village. The next morning, Ulrika disappears, Arisen finds her at Har Village, helps her save its people, and they make her the new chief. Finally, the Arisen has done enough random tasks to get invited to the coronation. He puts his fancy clothes on and heads for the castle, but as they get close, oh shit, Pondy starts losing it. He begs them to leave. He can't control his body and hears voices commanding his will. Brant's like, ah shit, that must be the God's way, as they decide to retreat. Meanwhile, at the coronation, Sven watches as the fake sovereign commands the pawns with the same glowy rock candy thing Tom Segura had at the work camp. This is the Godsway artifact, how mortals are able to control pawns. Brant learns there's a place in Batal that might shed some light on the Godsway, so guess where we're going next. On our way, medieval Obi-Wan, who apparently is called the Pathfinder now, is pleased the Arisen is fulfilling his duty, and tells him where to go next. Who the hell is this guy? The Arisen makes it to the land of furries, meets Manila, Empress Nadinia's personal guard, and gets a pass to Batal's capital. Because Capcom's getting lazy with their mission guidance, Ghosty Pathfinder guy randomly appears again to straight up tell us that the Arisen should seek out some dude named Ambrosius. Because fuck it, the Arisen does as he's told, and finds Ambrosius, who's looking for blue crystals. These crystals are used to make the Godsway, and sends the Arisen on another scavenger hunt. First, he must speak with the Oracle, who sends him to find the Dragon Forge in Har Village, the town's senile old man. This is where it starts getting confusing, especially if you have no prior context. Shameless video plug. Again, check out my DD1 video if you need extra background. In confusing old language and through cryptic Capcom storytelling, Old Man basically says there's a hidden temple in the sea. And in that temple is a deceased seneschal who abandoned his duty to start Vermont. Yes, he gave up being a god to become Vermont's founding ruler. For no reason at all, the temple decides to rise out of the sea all of a sudden, and the Arisen finds this blue Muppet who says someone called the Watching One has been sending his minions to kill him. Muppet is committed to defeating said minions until he can claim the true world for himself. Also, Gonzo's name is Rathias. He wants to liberate the world from the cycle and neglects his duties as seneschal, but is also refusing to give up the throne to a new one, even in death. The Watching One, aka Giga God, isn't happy and has been sending new Arisen to slay him to no avail. Matthias is cool when you don't try to kill him, and explains the crystals are fractured souls of Arisen and is why the Godsway can command pawns. Matthias senses the Arisen's powerful will and offers him his own soul, a withered Godsbane blade, hoping the Batali mages can restore it. Somehow, and without any explanation, this activates a giant stone guardian, which we'll discuss more later. The Arisen heads back to Ambrosius, who's muttering about Phaseus' plan to kill the dragon. Another side note, Phaseus is a sorcerer / John Wick double, who also despises the cycle and plans to break it by controlling the dragon with the Godsway. Controlled dragon means no more Arisen, means no more cycle. This is also the same Phaseus who provided Disa with a Godsway of her own. Ambrosius gets a hard-on when he sees the Godsbane blade and says he can restore it if the Arisen brings him Worm's life crystals, or the crystallized blood of lesser dragons. So the Arisen heads on a quest to murder giant flying lizards, but on his way solves the riddles of this big titty peacock lion lady, but then kills her anyway because loot, goes full irony mode by getting this bandit arrested, but then breaks him out of jail, kills his boss, but then convinces him to live an honest life, helps the pointy-eared hippies again by taking Sister Elf on a quest to steal soil from a dwarf so they can save a tree, assists a mercenary who's very likely from Wakanda, foil another decent side plot, and saves Empress Nadinia from multiple assassination attempts. Finally, the Arisen takes the crystals back to Ambrosius, who restores the Godsbane. He's hesitant to give it to the Arisen until Pathfinder phases in true Obi-Wan fashion goes, "This is not the sword you're looking for." Straight mind controls dude into giving up the blade as Pathfinder tells the Arisen to make for Moonglint Tower. Meanwhile, Phaseus and his Godsway are also headed for Moonglint and are being pursued by this big ass statue the Arisen activated back in the temple. The Arisen does what he does best, climb the monster and stab it until it dies, and the whole thing comes full circle when the Arisen follows Phaseus back into the internment camp. Phaseus is behind the camp as well, and using the Godsway to control the pawns into excavating Moonglint Tower. This is where he plans to summon the dragon, control it, and end the cycle. As the Arisen pursues them, he runs into Killmonger again, who wants a real fight. Yeah, about that. Thief OP! Shout out to Masterful Kill. Also found it funny that when we brought him back to life because we're a merciful Arisen, all he says is,
"You got me."
Really? The Arisen presses on to find Phaseus summoning the dragon. Phaseus all up his own ass talking shit and not realizing his rock candy staff can only control and summon lesser dragons. Then Big Daddy Dragon falls out of the sky, crushing and barbecuing everything. Toasty! It's a miracle Phaseus is alive. Just like in the first game, side quests matter because whoever you have as the highest affinity will be selected for a very important choice. And despite the fact that we helped Ulrika become chief of a brand new village, allowed Wilhelmina to get revenge for her parents, and saved not only the Lady Elf herself but also her sacred tree, the dragon thinks we're a furry and has Empress Nadinia. The dragon offers a choice: sacrifice the Empress and be free to live, or stand and fight. If the Arisen offers the sacrifice to the dragon, they get the bad ending. They're crowned as the Vermont sovereign, but he's a lonely boy and lives a hollow life. Instead, our guy's like, "Fuck you, dragon." Yeah, saving the Empress might be the right thing to do, but the Arisen's tight because it called him a furry. Unlike Grigory, who immediately started fucking shit up, this dragon is more ceremonial, as he insists on taking the Arisen to an appropriate battlefield. On the way, he says a bunch of stuff the Arisen wasn't listening to because he's about to fight a dragon. And when it gets to the battlefield, says, "Too late. Now we have to fight and continue the cycle." Dragon continues to talk as you're fighting it. Of course, you're not paying attention to what it's saying because, again, you're fighting a fucking dragon. But essentially, it credits Matthias for figuring out there's a greater power pulling the strings, wanting to see the cycle continue. And if the Arisen continues to fight for the current world and hasn't seen the truth yet, then they are a fool. While the Arisen stabs the dragon in the head, let me explain. But also understand a lot of this is up to interpretation because Capcom can't tell a cohesive story, and Reddit nerds will never agree. The cycle was created by Giga God in order to maintain order and keep the forces of destruction at bay. Giga God being Pathfinder Obi-Wan guy, and the destructive force being the brine mentioned much earlier. If you remember, Pathfinder's been pushing our Arisen along to complete the cycle this entire time. It centers around the duality of creation and destruction, but that's too deep for this video. Rather than make a whole new world every time the brine screws it up, Pathfinder created this cycle and the Great Will, harnessed by the Arisen to keep it at bay. This is why worthy mortals become Arisen. Their will is tested by the dragon and the seneschal, and if their will is willy enough, they become the next seneschal themselves. However, some like Matthias and Phaseus realize that this cycle sucks and they want out, which is why they're going against Giga God's great plan and trying to end the cycle. Dragon called our boy a fool because apparently he knew all of this and decided to fight the dragon anyway. Again, continuing the cycle. The dragon finally gets cut down. GG Zhao, we killed the dragon, got the normal ending. Vermundin's embracing its new ruler as the homie gets ordained in his John Lennon glasses. That's a comfy ass chair. But hold up, why is Pathfinder here? He's confused like, "You did your duty, Arisen. Why are you talking to me?" Bitch, I didn't invite you to this party. As Pathfinder walks away, the Arisen hears a voice in his head.
By thy will alone can the course of the winds of fate be altered.
There's clearly more to this, but Pathfinder asserts it is folly to resist fate. Everything in this reality is because of the Great Will, and if that were to fail, no one could survive.
We'll do it live! Fuck it!
As the Arisen insists, Pathfinder sends him back to when he was riding on the dragon. If the Arisen pays attention this time, the dragon says it too wants to end the cycle, but knows it would create a world of chaos. To end the cycle, thou shalt cut a swath through the false benevolence. Cut. Blade? Wait, the Godsbane. The Arisen pulls out the Godsbane blade and stabs himself where his heart should be, just like in the last game, killing the dragon and sending them both into the brine. Arisen wakes up in some weird demented purgatory, and Pathfinder is not happy. What the fuck, guy? I thought we were cool. I thought you wanted to live a happy life as a happy sovereign. Screw that. I ain't no bitch. Bet. You think you're bad? You want to see what you created? As the Arisen is transported into a nightmarish hellscape, and now we're playing Dragon's Dogma. Get it? Without the great will to keep it at bay, the brine escaped and is now consuming the world. Pathfinder straight up like, you had one job, you could have ruled in peace, but you fucked up, and now you found out. Now I have to wipe this bitch clean and start over. Enjoy this hellscape while it lasts, bitch. With what little time is left, the Arisen explores an unmoored world, gets Pondy back, and helps Facius fight back the monsterification of the brine. Pondy also decides he's done healing, gets absorbed by the statue, and starts playing DPS with a giant
Falcon punch!
Then he gets attacked by a demonic dildo wearing shitty Call of Duty camos, and straight up crushes it while it takes his head off. Guess you're back to healing, my guy. The Arisen also runs into Rothias, who appreciates him screwing over the Watching One and summons his people to help him, including the Oracle. The Oracle says the Arisen might be able to save the people of this world if he can lead them to their location. He heads out to convince everyone the world's ending. However, the red sky, the dried up sea, and the giant fucking brine monsters aren't enough to convince people they're screwed. So the Arisen has to straight up convince, coerce, and run more errands for all the idiots that are asking to die. Eventually, he gathers everyone together. But as time ticks away, the brine culminates into the ultimate fuck you dragon, the oblivion that will cleanse the world. Then Pondy starts going mad and turns himself as if he got caught by the dragon's plague. But this time, he's able to control it? Well, kinda. The Arisen hitches a ride on Dragon Pondy and jumps on Oblivion Dragon, clawing his way up as the Pathfinder spews more bullshit about the necessity of the cycle and how the Arisen screwed everyone by breaking it. Suddenly, Dragon Pondy rips out one of Oblivion's eyes and rips open his chest. Pondy is no longer a mere vessel like most pawns. The Arisen's will is so great, his main pawn now has a will of his own. Will is power! The power to shape the world as you desire. The power to tell God and fate to go fuck themselves. Just as he's finishing his inspirational speech, Pondy, no! The Arisen then pulls the Godsbane out of his ass, dives down, and spears Oblivion. As the brine dies, so does the Pathfinder. The cycle and the duality that maintain it are no more as a new world dawns. In this new world, Sven rules Vermund with Brant by his side, Wilhelmina's rolling solo in the woods, Melv is still fucked, the elves continue to obsess over trees, Killmonger is still working for Facius, Irony Bandit finally decides to leave gang life behind, and Empress Nadinia continues to rule the land of furries, while also making sure to remember the Arisen, who saved her life more times than she probably deserves. Finally, we see Har Village's senile grandpa setting sail in the brineless sea, probably off to go find Bitterblack Isle too.